Tomorrow will be an important date for SoFi. Well, in short term, tomorrow is when all SoFi warrants need to be redeemed or they will expire worthless after 5 p.m. Eastern Time, December 6th. In this video, we'll talk about warrants. We'll look at some data, for example, how many warrants are exchanged, and also how will that affect the share price. So there is a lot to cover and very little time, so let's get into it right away. As a gentle reminder, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, and if you enjoy talking about stocks, cryptos, investing, then consider joining our Discord, links down below. Okay, so let me share the screen and let me share the data about warrants. So take a look at this chart. This is a warrant chart, not a stock chart, but a warrant chart, and I have taken out the chart since October 4th. So we have about 3 months of data in front of us. So as you can see over here, we have about December 3rd is right here, which was Friday, and the warrant price was 544. Of course, it moves with the stock price. And as you can see, we have about 453,000 warrants that was traded. Now, if you pay attention to the volume have been in this range, except few days when we had high volume day right here, about 811,000 warrants that were traded at $6.25. Now, if I go back into the last month, take a look here. So this is on 11th 10th, 1.1 million warrants were traded. 11th 9th, 1 million warrants were traded. 11th 8th, 335,000, and 11th 5th, 1.2 million warrants were traded. Guess what happened on 11th 4th? 11th 4 is when SoFi announced that they will be redeeming the warrant or they will expire worthless on December 6th. A lot of people came and they started trading the warrants. In my expectation, these are the people, those who were basically selling their warrants or getting out of the warrants. Of course, they didn't want to redeem it. At that time, this was a good price, I think, because the share or the stock was doing really good at that time. So they came in and they traded their warrants or sold their warrants. Now, if you pay attention, since then, we have seen very little volume, and I've been as less as like 100,000 warrants that were traded, even though at 710 when the stock hasn't tanked yet that much. So you can see that warrant volume has been all over the place, but of course, as soon as the warrant was announced or they were saying, or the SoFi came out and said they will be redeeming the warrants, we saw this huge surge in the volume as expected. Of course, what are you doing holding your warrants till December 6th? I think any retailer community or any retail person should not be holding the warrant until the last day. Of course, if they don't want to exercise this, that's a different story. But if you want to exercise your warrant, you should have done it last week or as soon as they have announced that they will be redeeming the warrants. So as you can see, we have this consistent uptick in the volume since the news came out of warrant redemption, but then it kind of cooled off because people were getting out of the warrant. And over here we have 106,000 a day. And then now it picked up again towards the end when we had that huge sell-off and people were actually getting out and they're like, you know what, let me just get out now because it could sell off more on Monday. Now, we have seen how warrants have traded in the last few months. Let's take a look at some key metrics. So this is the data right now for shares outstanding, and I'm very, very interested to find out how this number will change after Monday, because so far these shares outstanding have remained the same from before. They have not changed right here. Of course, market cap changes with the share price, but shares outstanding have been 806,917. I checked the SEC document. It was the same share outstanding that they reported on September 30th. So nothing has really changed in shares outstanding, but this is the number I'll be looking after Monday. Now let's take a look at the volume. So volume have been really crazy, and I'm talking about stock volume here. And what is interesting is that if you are a warrant holder, then in my opinion, you are not going to wait till the last day. At least that's what I think, to redeem your warrants. And I'm thinking you have already done so. So the news about the warrant redemption was announced on November 4th. So right here is the volume for the stock, as you can see. Okay, so November 4th is when the news came about the warrant redemption. I'm going to highlight it over here. So now the question comes, because this was a cashless redemption, that means company has to create less shares, which is good for us investors, but still I would be interested in seeing how many more shares or how much more shares will be created after the redemption date is over. And I will share that data as soon as it comes available, but if you get it before me, then please do comment below. Okay, and of course, if you like talking about SoFi or investing or stocks in general, then consider joining our Discord. Links are given below. Okay, so coming back, so what happens when we have more shares available in the market? We get more supply, resulting in less demand. So I won't be surprised to see, and not because of any technicals, but purely human psychology, that folks coming out and selling those who bought at IPO level, thinking that they will get it cheaper Or of course, opposite can happen. We can see big institutions coming in because the date has now passed and now only the positive catalysts remain for SoFi. Again, no one can time the market, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking institutions are waiting on the sideline because they could see some pressure from the warrant redemption and the stock can go down and they can go in and buy, or they can come in and buy more aggressively. Regardless, it'll be interesting to see tomorrow and also Tuesday what happens with the stock. But if you pay attention over here on this chart, we can see that we have seen SoFi act like really in the volume terms very differently. So if you see over here, we have this on November 4th when the warrant came out, or the news came out, we had about 18 million shares that were traded. And then November 9th, this was right before the earnings, we got this uptick, which always happens whenever the earnings come out. And then 72 millions were traded on the day of the earnings, which is of course, or sorry, the day after the earnings, which was really good, huge volume day. But then what happened over here is that the volume came back to that 18 to 20 million and then it was up again. But look what happened from November 30th. We had this huge market sell-off. Everybody was getting out. Over here we had 67 million shares traded on November 30th, and then we have about 64 million shares that was traded on December 3rd. I'm going to find out a way, see if I can track all the institution buying right away when it happens, and I will share that, of course, information with everybody. But right now I could see that institutions are probably sitting in sideline waiting for the warrant redemption date to see what kind of difference it makes in their shares outstanding, and then they will come in and buy heavy, because right now, trust me, there is a lot of money that's sitting outside the market waiting for these catalysts to take place, especially the Fed meeting. So of course, next 2 weeks could be up and down depending on, but SoFi's catalyst is warrant redemption and we are going to see some movement. Next, take a look at the price chart. So SoFi has broken all the trend. It has given us in so many more red days than green days. So if you see over here, we had about only 2 green days, and that 2 very minimal green days in the last week. Week before, we had a lot of red days, and of course this was Thanksgiving, so this was a holiday. Before that, we had 4 red days and only 1 green day. Before that, the trend was different. SoFi was giving us consistently 2 to 3 green days. I feel when we get through this Fed meeting that's coming up on the 15th, because again, everybody is unsure what's going to happen, we are going to see that trend comes back. And of course, when the redemption news is over, then only positive catalysts will remain for SoFi, which could be bank charter, Q4 news, and of course, start of the year, which will be very exciting. So there is a lot to watch out for next 2 weeks, but I'm specifically watching for tomorrow for SoFi, of course, how the redemption is going to happen and what kind of changes we will see in the shares outstanding. We might not get that number right away, but it'll be interesting to watch at least if there is any change. And that's why I wanted to take a screenshot now to kind of have a record of it. And then we'll see how many shares were created or diluted. And the good thing is it's a cashless redemption, because if it was cash redemption, then who knows how many more shares were getting diluted. So in my opinion, I feel December 6th was the date when everybody was expecting the share price to go down a bit. No one was expecting the major sell-off before. So we have lost a lot of share value already, and SoFi is sitting at a very exciting valuation and also price point. And I'm absolutely fine owning the stock here. If it drops a little more, oh well, I still got in at decent price, and you cannot run after the stocks all the time. There is more to life. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts for tomorrow for SoFi and also on Tuesday, and I will follow up with more details. Hope I provided some value, and if you like the video, then give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And if you like to talk about stuff like this, then join our Patreon. We just started a few weeks ago and have built an amazing community. We are small, but we speak smart and meaningful stuff. As always, an absolute pleasure to share all of this with you. Until next time, you all have a sparkling day.